What's scarier than death? Failure.
Honestly. What's scarier than death? Blake Lively in the pictures for It Ends With Us.
Hey everybody, welcome to BYOB, the Bring Your Own Book podcast. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Nikki.
Today, we have something a little different, a little special for you all. Today, we're going to talk about redacted reads. And no, we're not talking about books that have been banned or challenged. Maybe a future episode will do that. But today, we did a fun little experiment between each other or for each other. We didn't experiment on ourselves. Let me be clear.
Thank goodness.
But, yes. Again, maybe a future episode. Who knows? No. But we decided to do something a little fun where we each chose a book for the other person to read. We didn't tell them anything about the book, and we even disguised the book so that we could not find out what it was. So we will definitely take a picture of our redacted reads. Nikki's is so much prettier than mine was, like the one that I gave to Nikki. Mine was like, here's some brown paper.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to use washi tape and drop flowers on the front and make a cute label.
Yeah, no, I did not. I was just like, cover it. But you know what? If we do this again, which I think could be fun, even if we don't do an episode, I think that could be fun anyways, like for a future thing.
Yeah.
I'll make it look prettier because I feel shamed. Yours is so pretty.
Well, you also gave me mine like months before I gave you yours. You gave it to me with my Christmas gift, I believe. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't get you yours yet. And I think I gave it to you at the end of February or something.
Or like
close to
March
the end of February, because I was like, well, we're not doing it until like May. So I know she's not going to read it right now. So I had a hard time picking.
I was like, what do I do? What genre should I go with? Like, I kept going back and forth. I was gonna get you something like steamy because I read a lot of romance. And so I was like, ooh, I can pick one for Nikki. This will be great. But then I didn't want to order it online for some reason. Like, I wanted to have it in my hand. And then I said to you at one point, when I told you I wanted to get you something steamy, but I didn't. I was like, I didn't know what was the line between that's too much versus this is great. And then you told me that I didn't have to worry about that.
Facts. I literally read books where the dude will like hunt down a girl with a knife and then they have sex. And I'm like, cool. A+.
Okay, slightly off topic, quick story. I was at work today and this lady wanted to look at a product in the box, and so she was like, okay, there's some tape, can you open it? And I was like, okay, like trying to pick it open, and she's like, do you have a knife on you? And I was like, no, that's in my other dress. And she like looked at me for a sec. I was like, they don't allow us to have knives on us. She was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're not in Texas.
Yeah.
Carol or whatever your name is.
No clue. But anyways, yeah, so okay, why don't we start with, let's give a little backstory, a little history, if you will, a little herstory of how did we pick these books? What was this like for you, Nikki? Were you stressed like I was?
I was so stressed because I looked at so many books where I felt like, oh, I think that she could like this. But the book that I ended up picking, I picked it because I felt like even if you don't end up really liking it, I feel like the story is going to propel forward in a way that you'll be able to finish it, even if you're not super into it. Because the last thing I wanted was to pick something for you that you got 50 pages into and you were like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever.
Same. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because like, you know, we buy each other books all the time for Christmas or birthdays or just 'cause, you know?
Yeah.
But with that, there's no pressure for you to read it immediately. It's like, I bought this thinking you'll like it. But with this experiment, we had to buy it explicitly for you to read it like right away, basically, or like within a certain time frame. So there's more pressure of like, I hope you like it because you have to finish it.
There's also pressure because we know each other so well.
Yeah.
I mean, so incredibly well for people who are listening to this and don't know us personally, that I would feel personal shame if I picked something out for you. I could understand if you were like, I didn't vibe with it. But if you were like, I viscerally hated this book, I would be like, I don't know her at all. Oh, are we even friends?
Do you even listen to me when I talk? Am I talking to my husband? No, I'm kidding. We've all had those conversations, okay? I love him, but it is the truth. So no, I know.
Am I right?
I felt the same way because I was like, oh my God, what if she's like, what the fuck is this? Why did she think I would like this? Because I read the synopsis and I was like, ooh, this is intriguing. I think Nikki will like this, you know? But
yeah. What were your thoughts when you were like starting the book that I gave you?
Okay, so I knew right away that it was going to be a thriller just from how the book started, because the beginning of my book, it was kind of laid out like who's who in this book, like who's the cast here. And so even though that can happen in other books, I knew this was not a play that you got me, because I'd be like, why did you buy a play for a book podcast?
Yeah.
Am I going to see it? Are we going to Broadway? You know, like what's happening? So I was like, okay, this has to be a thriller because we're seeing who's who. But I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, it was a tech company. These people had like weird hippie names, and also their job titles were like really weird. They were not normal, like vice president of sales. It was like guru of feelings or whatever. Like, it was weird. Like, that wasn't exactly what it was, but it was very similar to that.
I did read like the first, I would say maybe 15 to 20 pages just to get like a feel of what it was after I bought it, because I was like, oh, I think this will be fun, but I don't know. So I'm gonna test drive it a little bit before I give it to her.
Yeah.
And they definitely set up this toxic work environment.
Oh my God.
So well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I guess I don't remember if it started with the cast or the article. It was either or, but it was a cast and an article saying that people had died in like an avalanche or something, and I was like, oh, okay. So it was either going to be a mystery or a thriller. And then I soon found out, oh, it is a thriller. Which actually, when I first started the book, I was in the mood for a thriller. So it was perfect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What did you think when you first started the book I picked for you?
Okay. So I think I sent you a voice message at like around 2:30 in the morning. So I had finished a book and I wasn't tired. So I was just like, oh, I'll start another one. And I came into the office and saw the Redacted Read, thinking, I have to read this anyway. I think this is going to be great. I take the book and I'm literally walking back into my bedroom and this feeling comes over me. And I just know this book is going to be terrifying. I probably shouldn't start reading it at 2 a.m. I literally had not opened the book at all at this point. I was just holding it, and in that moment knew that this book was going to scare the shit out of me. And oh boy, did it ever. I read probably 30 to 40 pages that night, and from the first paragraph, my heart was racing. Oh, and God. I was sitting in bed, and my cat Gandalf was sitting beside me, and he kept looking at me like so concerned. I was hunched over the book reading. I never sit up when I read in bed, but I was sitting up, hunched over reading this book, flipping the pages, like viciously talking to the character. being like, no, don't do it. It's a trap.
Oh my God.
It was awesome.
Oh my God. Well, I'm so glad. See,
Yeah.
I didn't read any of your book because when I read the synopsis, I was like, this sounds really spooky and I kind of want to read it, but I want to hear what you think first. If it's like, can Kelly get through this?
There were definitely moments where I felt like, I don't think this is for Kelly, but
Oh no.
I think you could read it. I think that there would be parts where you would be like, because it's a little gory. Like there are moments that are like excessively gory in the description of like what's happening to people, but I'll get more into that later. But
Okay.
yeah, if you can get through those parts, it's really fun.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so in case no one picked it up by what we're saying, I chose a horror for Nikki.
Yes.
Like it was supposed to be scary. This is not just like I picked up a tearjerker and Nikki was like, "Oh my God, I'm terrified." It was horror.
Could you
okay,
imagine?
I can. I would be the same way. I'd be like,
What's
"What is
scarier
this?"
than death? Tears.
Yes. What's scarier than death? Failure.
Honestly. What's scarier than death? Blake Lively in the pictures for It Ends With Us. Not
She
her
looks like
herself.
Lillian.
The casting was just fucking stupid.
Honestly, she looks like Lillian from The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And no shade to
Yeah.
her, but that's not who this person's supposed to be in the
Well,
book.
she's also looks, because she is like 10 years older, 10 to 15 years older than she's supposed to be.
Yeah. And like Justin Baldoni, don't get me wrong, he is so hot. I freaking loved him in Jane the Virgin. You are not Ryle. I don't even like this book that much, and I'm like, I don't like this casting.
Well,
Like,
that's the thing. I really felt like I wasn't going to have opinions about it because I really didn't enjoy the book.
yeah.
But I still have many opinions just based on those few pictures I saw. I have opinions about the casting. I have opinions about the wardrobe.
Oh
I
my
have opinions
God, I
about the
know.
makeup. Like, are they going to CGI her wrinkles off of her? She looks, it's not that she's old. She looks like
No.
she's 35 to whatever. And she's had like 3 fucking kids.
Yeah.
They started filming 3 months after she had her last kid. And when she tips her head back, her skin looks like she's in her 30s. And I'm sorry, that doesn't look like a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
I think that there are parts that she could have done way more, and I think they're doing a huge disservice to her by
Yeah.
casting her in this part.
Honestly, yeah, because I have nothing against her either. I think she's been in some movies I've really loved, but I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Why are you doing this?
I
Who
know,
told you
it
this
just-
was going to be a good idea? I don't
It
know.
feels very backwards. They must have offered her a lot of money.
I mean, if I was getting paid $1 bajillion, I would do any kind of flop movie. Well, not any kind of flop movie, but like most kinds of flop movies.
Yeah, put that
Yeah.
disclaimer in there, because a movie
Yes.
can be classified as a lot of things, Kelly.
Yes. Yeah, if it's not rated, there's a problem. I don't want to do that. So, anyways,
totally
back to
off
this other
topic,
horror
but-
story.
I just needed to say that.
Oh my God. Well, I'm so glad you loved it. Okay, I need to know. Well, I guess before we like go into what you think it is, who you think it's by, can you tell me like a quick synopsis summary of sorts of like what this book was about?
Yeah, so man, middle-aged. He's kind of like, I would say, I mean, he owns his own business, but he's not, he's like middle-class guy. He doesn't get along with his wife. You know, there's kind of family problems. He seems kind of a little like a loser. Starts off immediately. He almost hits a child on the highway.
Oh shit.
And the kid runs away into the woods, and he's chasing after this kid to be like, what the fuck? And he thinks that the kid's lost. So he's trying to like get the kid back to bring it to wherever it needs to be. Mm-hmm. And he gets led to this really huge old abandoned house, and he suddenly has this vision of grandeur. He is going to buy this property. He is going to revamp it into, what does he call it? The Merrimack Court Country Club. Oh, and it's going to be a retreat for people. And they're going to go there and they're going to play tennis. And there's going to be a spa. And they're going to go in the pool. And it's going to be amazing. He finds his way into this building and finds a newspaper from 1926. So it's been abandoned since then. And the book basically revolves around his hunt to own this property and the consequences of his infatuation with it.
Okay.
And there are some fucking consequences.
So wait a sec. What did he do for a living?
He owns a muffler and tire shop. Like he owns like, I think maybe a few different kind of like garages.
Okay, so he doesn't have anything to do with like building, construction, hospitality. He's just like,
no,
I'm going to start this new venture.
No,
okay.
He goes home to his wife and he says, you know, Maggie, I am going to sell these places if I have to because I need money because I'm going to buy this place.
Okay.
And he hunts down the real estate office that is representing the place. He also finds out the history about it. And it's pretty dark.
Yes.
Pretty dark. I don't know if I should get into that right now. But it's called, it was an asylum for the criminally insane. And it was called The Oaks. Okay. And the book kind of ends up, and I don't know if this is why I liked it so much, because I really love the Raven cycle, but it ends up having a lot of ties to, like, the Druids and ley lines around spirits. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of kind of mythological stuff. And I'm also, the content I find scariest in books is a haunted house.
Okay.
I will forever be terrified of a haunted house. If it's happening on a street, I don't fucking care. If it's in a house and someone's walking down a hallway, there was one scene, he's walking and he hears like a shh, and he looks behind him and there's nothing there, and he walks faster and the like shh, it like speeds up, and then he's fucking running down this hallway. And the like sound is getting so fast behind him until it's almost right on top of him. And I felt like I was sweating reading it. I was so panicked. I felt like I was running with him, trying to get away.
Oh my God.
It was so invigorating.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you liked it. Well, loved it. I didn't know from the synopsis that it was going to be ley lines, mythological stuff. I knew,
okay.
Yeah, like some of the other things. Mm-hmm. Like I knew about the asylum, but I did not know that it was going to go down that way. So that's cool.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Tell us about your book.
Okay, so my book has quite a large cast. It's about a group of 9 people who work at a tech company, and I won't say what it is because I don't want to spoil anything yet. But there's 9 people who work for this company. Well, 8, and one of them used to work for the company but doesn't anymore. And they're going on this like company retreat to a ski chalet in France. And so we get a few different people's perspectives throughout the book, but it's mainly 2 people. And one of the people's perspectives is a worker at the chalet. So there's also 2 people who work there. There's like the hostess, stewardess kind of person, and then the chef. And it's bad weather. And the CEO of the company is a real dick. and he wants his way, and they're trying to start this new aspect of their tech company because they're really in the music business, but he wants to start like a geolocating kind of service slash add-on, if you will, to their app. And it's not live yet. They're in beta testing. And he's like, this is going to be huge. We're going to be like at the forefront. But half of his staff there don't want to do that. They want to sell the company because they have an offer to be bought out for like $1 billion or whatever. And so as stakeholders, they're like, we're going to be super duper rich. Let's sell the company. And the CEO is like, no, I don't want to sell the company. And then, and also some of them went to school together. So it's like they work together, but also there's like this history of being these privileged young students at like a prep school. I believe they're all British. So there's also that aspect of like class and society and wealth.
Right.
So he's like, no, I don't want to sell. And one of the perspectives that we get in the book, she used to work there, doesn't anymore, and she owns 2% of the company. So she doesn't have a huge say, but she is part of the vote. And she's like the swing vote. And she's like, I don't know what I want to do. Let's talk about this later, like when we have an official vote. And so then they go skiing, and it's bad weather out. And the hostess stewardess lady is like, you probably shouldn't go, I think she says off-piste. I don't ski, but I was like, pissed. Like, what the hell is that? So don't go off trail, we'll say, okay?
Right.
Because the weather's super bad and it's like a black diamond run, very dangerous, even if you're a pro skier, which one of the people in the group is. She's like super, super talented skier. She's basically like Olympian level. And the CEO is like, let's all go down this ski run. And they don't want to go down, but some of them do, and whatever, they get separated. When they meet back at the chalet, the lady who's supposed to be the best skier out of all of them is missing. And then an avalanche hits.
Ooh.
And the power goes out. And they're all stuck in the chalet. And they can't find the first person. And then someone is killed in his bedroom at the chalet. And they're like, what the fuck? We're all stuck here with no power, no access to anyone. Cell phone towers are down. There's a murderer among us, you know? And more people die. And yeah, it was intense. And I love that. I really it, in a weird way, it made me want to try skiing, but also I was terrified.
Yeah, my book did not make me want to buy an old house.
Like, I'm gonna build new. Thanks. Yeah. I don't blame you. But I had a great time. Honestly, I'll get into like star ratings next, I guess. I would rate it like maybe a 3.75. Like, I'm between a 4 and a 3.5 because I found the first like 150 pages a little slow. Like, there was quite a big buildup. Like, there was a lot of info to get down before shit started going down.
Right.
But when shit hit the fan, I was like, oh shit. I just said shit so many times, whatever. But I was like, when things started to happen, I was like, oh my God. And I even had a moment like you did where I was like on the edge of my seat. I literally turned to Scott and I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And that's when I sent you a voice message because we found out who the murderer was with like 80 pages left. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on? This can't be. Like, I was freaking out. And so that's why I'm like, I don't know, but it's probably more towards a 4 because I did have like such strong reactions to parts. And then I found the ending a little long. Like, things were resolved and then they kept going for a little bit and then it was done. And so the way it kept going, I thought it was going to be like a horror movie ending where like Carrie like shoots her arm out from the ground at her grave, like, oh no, you know, like in Stephen King's Carrie or whatever. Yeah. But like that didn't happen at the end of the book. So I was like, why did we need this extra stuff? I don't care if they're happy now. I'm glad they're happy, but like this is the thriller, you know? Right.
Yeah. I would say like for ratings, I would probably rate my book around the same. The first half of the book, I was super engaged, and it was all happening basically in and based around the house. But then something happens, and the book takes a turn out into the streets of, where are they? Milwaukee or something. Anyway, things are not happening in the home anymore. And that kind of like, while it was still fun, wasn't gripping me as much. But then at the end, it goes back to the asylum, and you're like, ooh.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say the same, just like flipped around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this was definitely a successful test.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And I know, so I made a boo-boo with Kelly's book. And by made a boo-boo, I mean I just got lazy and didn't black out the name twice, and then gave it to her and thought she's probably going to find out what she did. She was like, I have a confession to make. I was like, I already know what the confession is. Because then I was like,
I felt so guilty. I didn't want to say anything.
It's totally fine. I knew that you probably knew what it was. So Kelly, why don't you tell us what your book is?
Okay. So I did see the author first, and I was like, but so I didn't know the title for a while.
Right.
And then on another page I saw it, and I was like, damn, and I was wrong. So it was One by One by Ruth Ware.
Yeah.
I thought it was The Girl in Cabin 10 because they were in a chalet.
Oh.
But cabins and chalets aren't the same, apparently. I think that one's about like a boat or something.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, I haven't read it,
but I picked it for you because I know that you liked some of Lucy Foley's books.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like this is going to have the same kind of vibe. I've heard a lot of good things about Ruth Ware. I've never actually read a book by her. But I was like, thriller, it's going to be gripping, whether the characters are shitty or whatever. Like, there will be things to get her through to the end.
Yeah, and I've never read a Ruth Ware book either. I thought I had, but I don't think so. I think I'm thinking of, like, Mary Kubica or something.
Right.
But no, like, the difference to me between Ruth Ware and Lucy Foley, or Lucy Foley, however, I've only read one of her books. I haven't finished the other ones. But this one, there were moments of like real action. Like there was a chase scene on skis where the girl who was being chased had a broken ankle. Yes. Because she was
Stress.
she was skiing for her life. She was literally like trying to get away from the murderer. And yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my God. Like, that's why I was like, I kind of want to try skiing. But I was also terrified. Like, I don't want to be this person. But yeah, so I did guess, but I still had an amazing time. Yeah. And I didn't have the title right. So I was like, oh. And then one character in the book says, we're all dying one by one or something like that. And I was like, one by one, because I had seen the cover of that before.
Right.
So I was like, oh. But
yeah, this was like a really big book on like social media a few years ago. And like Ruth Ware kind of had, I don't know how long she's been around, but I know a few years ago, people were really talking about this other book of hers called The Turn of the Key.
Oh, and, okay.
There was another one that had like had a title like Mrs. Westermere's daughter or some kind of thing like that. Anyway.
Okay.
So that book started coming up too, because I think it was newer.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, as soon as I gave it to you, I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna know.
It's okay, because you spent so much extra time making the book pretty.
That's true.
Whereas I was like, black this shit out. Like I was...
The only thing I know about my book in terms of the title and author is the author's last name or first name is Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that in the author section, like there were some things blacked out, and I tried not to even read it, but when I was opening it one day, I like flipped it open and it was like Graham blah blah blah, and I was like, okay.
Oh, shoot. Did I forget a whole page?
No, you blacked out his name and the rest of it, but you just missed that one instance where it was like Graham. So Graham is either his first name or his last name. And I also accidentally saw in like through here little thing.
The spine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. You guys can't see. I'm pointing at the spine. That there was an M. And I think that maybe Graham is his last name. And maybe his first name starts with an M. And I can't even see in there. M-A-S. M-A something.
So Graham is his first name.
Okay.
I have it on Goodreads here because I had to make sure I got the right. But one thing that sold me on it was on the front there was a blurb from Stephen King. Oh. And I was like, okay, cool. So the author is Graham Masterton.
Okay.
And he's a little bit older. The book is when do you think the book was written?
So the book takes place in 1988.
Okay.
And so I was thinking that the book was older, like quite a bit older. And the way that the writing is, if it's newer, he did a very good job at writing the 80s uninhibited from today's like PC norms, which is one thing that I really enjoy when I read Stephen King's writing. Is I know that Stephen King isn't a racist asshole, but when he writes books and he has people like that, he doesn't hold back from including things that people would say and descriptions of things that would have been prevalent at the time the book is taking place. Yeah. And that's what Graham Masterson did very well in this book. So I wasn't 100% sure. I did see on the copyright that it says this paperback edition first published in 2021 by Head of Zeus Ltd. So I was like, new, or maybe they only just put it into paperback. So
yeah, so it was first published in 1989.
Oh,
so
great.
It is from the 80s. Yeah, and he's actually quite old, the author. So when I bought the book for you, I was a little worried that it was going to be dense or like just antiquated style of writing. So I was like, oh God, I hope it's not, because that's hard to go into blind. Like,
yeah.
You know?
You need like prep for that. Like, I wouldn't give you like a literary fiction and be like,
here you go.
Here's a fun mystery read. Like the Goldfinch
War and
for fun.
Peace. Oh God. Yeah, no. So he was born in the 40s. So he's like an older guy. I believe he's still alive. And 1989. So that's just like a newer cover because I liked it. I saw it at work and I was like, ooh, I'm intrigued. And I thought it was going to be like zombies or something. Because the title is called The Walkers.
Oh, I was like, maybe it's called, because I saw the M, and I was like, maybe he named it after the name that Jack wants to call the Oak. Well, the asylum was called the Oaks. Mm-hmm. So it's like, maybe it is like the Merrimack Court Country Club or whatever the fuck he wanted to call it.
Okay.
And then I was like, maybe it's called the Oaks. Maybe... Like, who freaking knows? There's like 8 million things happening in this book. It could be called like Jack Wants to Buy a House. I don't fucking know. Like Jack was the main character, or whatever. Yeah.
Does the title make sense? Like, what do you think the Walkers refers to?
So in the book, the house is haunted. Mm-hmm. And when he goes in I was explaining earlier, he's walking down the hallway and hears like the shh sound. So in 1926, the caretaker or the doctor that ran this hospital, he and his family are in their apartment and they go out to see the patients and they're all gone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All of the patients are gone. but they're not gone. They're in the walls. So the you hear is them like traveling through the walls, and they've built up all of this power over all of this time that they've been there, that they can push out and use the concrete in the basement or the plaster of the walls to like come out as their hands and grab people, and they pull people in. And it was seriously it created such an atmosphere of every time somebody walked in there, you were like, they're gonna get you right now. They were coming up from the floor. They were coming out of statues. It was so hard to be calm when there were scenes with him in the house. And what happens is he goes in there. So he has a secretary named Karen. Okay. And he kisses her behind his wife's back.
Ugh.
And Maggie decides, that's his wife, that she's going to leave him.
Good.
But then his son Randy wants to stay, even though when Maggie leaves, he's thinking, this is great. Her and Randy are going to leave, and I'm going to be able to buy this fucking house. Mm-hmm. This is what I've wanted. Really. He's so infatuated. It really did have a kind of psychosomatic Shining kind of feeling, like this man becoming so obsessed with this building, this other that has this entity in it. He takes Karen and his son in the middle of the night to this house because he cannot stop fixating on it, and his son gets taken. So he spends the whole book trying to placate and play against these crazy people in the walls to get his son back.
Okay.
So that's how they all kind of get out, because there's this Druidic ritual, and a priest had sealed them into the grounds.
Oh.
But they're saying, bring us the priest. We need the priest, and we'll give you your son back. The priest breaks the holy water circle. Okay. And then they're allowed to go free. And they're killing everybody.
Oh my god. So the kid at the beginning, did he get out of the wall?
He gets out at the end. Like his son?
Oh no, sorry. The kid that he almost hits in the car at the very beginning.
You find out that it's a piece of newspaper. And so there's this one patient. His name is Quintus. Which is an awful name. It's because, his name is Quintus, and he felt like, so he's psycho, obviously. Starts to feel like he is the son of Awin, who is involved with this thing called the quintessence.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
So he's
like a medieval thing.
Yeah. Quintessence. All the stuff. He is the one that does the ritual that gets everybody into the walls.
Okay.
And so Jack's son, Randy, is the final sacrifice so that they can reabsorb themselves into their human bodies and walk the earth once more. Ooh. And it is this crazy, vicious battle of, oh my god, it's like so many things. And it is very gory. There is a man who they find, or not find, he finds them technically trespassing. He is an older gentleman, and he is paid by this mysterious owner of the home to watch the house. And he does rounds with his dog at like 2:00 in the morning.
Oh god, no thank you.
And he's like, why are you here? And Jack and Karen are like, well, his son is missing in the house and we need to go in. And he goes, well, you're not going to find him tonight. I'll meet you here in the morning. I worked at this house since I was a kid. So,
oh my god.
He has been around the asylum since he was like 12 or something. And anyway, they end up going down into the basement, and this man gets pulled against the wall of the basement. Think like concrete foundation
cellar.
walls. Yeah. And literally gets cheese grated against the concrete by these hands that pull him. And they're like, he describes so viscerally the like dragging around, and like the dog runs up the stairs at one point with like a bone in his mouth from the dude.
Oh
like,
my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, man. Yeah.
Okay, well, since you gave some spoilers, I'm going to give some spoilers because I got to share when I was like freaking out.
Yes.
So, okay, later in the book, 2 people are killed at the chalet, okay? And one guy feels super guilty because he had the only cell phone that had any kind of charge, and he called the police, but they haven't shown up yet because there's like everyone around them at the resort or whatever who like needs help and whatever, and they told him, oh, we've got lots of food, we're fine, like get here when you can, but they haven't shown up yet, and it's been like 2 days or something, 2 or 3 days. And so he's like, it's all my fault, I'm gonna go to them. So he leaves and he's skiing, and they're like, what the fuck, Inigo? What is wrong? Are you gonna come back? Are you gonna die? I don't know. And they're like, is he the killer? We don't know. So he's gone. And then there's no more progress, and people are freaking out. And so they decide one group of 3 people are going to ski down to the nearby village and see if anyone has power or like service, whatever, to try to call for help, because they're like, if he's the killer, maybe he just pretended to call the police and no one's actually showing up because they don't know who did it, right? And so they decide to go there, and the other group, it was supposed to be 3, but one girl falls down the stairs and she hurts herself, and so she can't ski. She hurts her knee or something, like she twists it or something. And so 2 people are going to go to a nearby chalet, like a bigger one, and see if they can get help or whatever, and then come back. So it's like a 3-hour ski one way, so they can come back that day. And the other people are just like gone because it's going to take all day to get there. And so the hostess lady who broke her ankle is at the chalet with the girl who fell down the stairs. And she's like, okay, it's safe. And the girl who's there is the girl who used to work for the company. And she has 2% stake. Well, while they're there, she discovers that she stole these sleeping pills, which were put into a drink that killed the first person in the chalet. And she also discovers that she has a ski jacket that looks identical to the girl who was like a pro skier. And she's the one who said that she saw the skier. So she's like, oh yeah, she's fine. Like, she must be like waiting at another chalet or whatever. Like, but no one else actually saw her. They're taking her word for it. And so the girl, the hostess lady, is like, oh my God, it's gotta be her. And when I first met her, she gave me the creeps, but then I thought, no, that's not it. She's just really shy, and she looks like an owl. That's what she says. She looks kind of like owlish. Okay. And she's like, people always think that owls are like, you know, they're wise, unassuming, whatever. And she's like, but actually owls can be quite creepy and quite calculating. And why didn't I see this sooner? And so now she's stuck in this chalet with the murderer, and she's trying to pretend like she doesn't know it's her. And then you find out these terrible things about the murderer, because, like, clearly she's a murderer. But she also has, like, a backstory of all these problems and everything, right? And so she's like, oh, okay. And you get both of their perspectives. And so one person's like, oh my God, it's her. And then the next chapter, it's like, she knows. But I need to know how much she knows, because maybe I don't have to kill her because she likes her, because she was always nice to her.
Right.
And so then the hostess goes and finds... there's a cell phone plugged in from one of the people that were killed. And there's actually service, or no, there's not service. So she's like, I'll text. And then if someone does get service, it'll go and they can find out whatever. And so she's like, SOS, it's her, blah, 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 you know? And while they're talking and trying to be chill and pretend like we don't know what's going on, the phone beeps upstairs, like a text came through. And the murderer is like, was that a phone? And they have to go up, And it's crazy. And so now they know that everyone knows, you know? And so then she tries to drug her with the sleeping pills, but the girl, like, fakes drinking the tea, and then they have this, like, wild ski chase, and it was like Red Eye, like that thriller Red Eye, because it was, like, fighting each other to get out of the chalet. The murderer was injured, but she's not anymore, because it wasn't a serious twist, but the girl who's trying to get away broke her ankle, so she's I just gotta get down the hill, and she goes, I was thinking,
like, does the murderer even have a twisted ankle or anything, or was it just faking it?
Yeah, it was just like a light twist, you know, just a little twist of sorts. And so they, like, go down off trail, and they fall everywhere and all this shit, and then the murderer falls and smacks her head on these rocks and dies. So, yeah, that was, like, intense, but also kind of anticlimactic, because, like, she just died on her own accord, basically.
Yeah.
But
I see that.
Yeah, it was still, like, super intense, and it was, like, high-speed chase scene, but on skis, and it was, like, I can hear her coming behind me, but I can't see her, and blah, 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 and, like, it was so good. And she was actually a good skier, and she pretended not to be a good skier, because she's the devil, so...
Right. Facts.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
That really reminds me of, you got me a book for Christmas or my birthday. Where is it? Yes. The Sanitarium by Sarah Pierce. And kind of a similar thing. Huge building. Used to be... Actually, it's kind of like a culmination of both of our books.
Oh.
Huge building. Used to be a asylum, sanitarium, and it was converted to a ski resort.
No thanks.
And so they get to her brother, and so her brother lives there, or is there, and his wife works there. And she's going to visit with her partner, and she's a detective. And shit happens. There's an avalanche. There's no power. People are getting murdered. Crazy shit. There's, like, tunnels from that lead to different places around the property from when they used to have to, like, take bodies and shit. She finds this room with all of this old medical equipment that, yeah. Anyway, super creepy, but that's exactly kind of, like, the perfect amalgamation of both of our books.
Oh my god, I'm like, I gotta look over my shoulder because I feel like someone's gonna open the door.
I feel creeped out.
I think this was a success.
I do too.
I think this was funny.
So much fun.
Yeah, and I think it was funny that, like, we picked, I mean, mine was not a horror book, but, like, they're both, like, intense.
Yeah. For real.
But I had so much fun. I would do it again.
I know, me too. Me too. I feel like it was, like, I don't know. It ended up being, like, just what I needed.
Oh, good.
To, like, have fun. That sounds really fucked up because my book was messed up, but it was fun.
I'm so glad. And no, I was, like, in the mood for a thriller. So when I opened it, I was like, ooh, it's a thriller.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. I had so much fun. But yeah, I was shooketh because, like, I don't think I've had a book before where we found out who the murderer was with so much time left, and they were in the same spot together, like, stuck.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. Like, I've watched movies like that where I've been like, get out, get out, get out. And I was doing that reading this book. I was like, get out of there. She's gotta go. Like, just make up any excuse, you know? Holy crap. She was trying to leave through, like, some kind of laundry chute or some shit. I don't remember, like, out the side of the chalet. And she got stuck because her helmet was too big. And then the murderer came over and was trying to pull her out. And she was going to, like, lose her head. Don't lose your head. She didn't.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, really.
Wow. I like that. I like when it's not all psychological. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have some... I mean, when it's just psychological, you still have those feelings of, like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? But when someone's, like, physically running in a book,
Yeah.
You can't beat that feeling of being like,
no,
the whole time.
I felt like I was skiing. I don't even know how to ski, but I was like, what would I do? Would I have the courage or the literal strength to do this? And I could feel when she was talking about like her foot feeling like it's being shredded because of like her broken ankle in the ski boot or whatever. Like, she fell 3 times and the skis got whipped off and she's like hobbling over, but she's trying to survive, you know? Yeah. It was so good.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
Thank you. This was great. When did we think about this? I feel like
a while ago.
I feel like we were drinking or something.
Probably.
And I was like, you know what? I feel like that never ends well, but this time it ended pretty good.
Yeah, we've got all sorts of tricks up our sleeves, people, okay?
Oh, like, yeah.
There's all sorts of fun things about to happen, we hope. But I think this was a success, and I think, you know what? I told a coworker about this experiment, and he was like, oh, so like a blind date with a book. And I'm like, no, not quite. How dare you? Because... blind date with a book, if anyone listening doesn't know what that is where you have a book wrapped in paper and there's like a little clue as to what kind of book is inside. It's usually a romance, not always. And like people do it for fun any time of the year or like around Valentine's Day. And when you open it, you know what it is. So your blind date has been revealed and you can decide whether he's nasty or a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, but with ours, once you open it, you still don't know what it is, and you just have to read it and hope it's a 10 out of 10.
It's actually kind of interesting because when you said the book was called The Walkers, I feel like unless the cover is really cute, which I think I am gonna unwrap the cover of the book, so I can put it on the shelf. I would, in my feeling, I would not gravitate to a book called The Walkers. So this was actually excellent because this is a book I might have never picked up in real life.
Oh, yay!
If I had seen what the title was.
Well, I can show you a picture of it and then you can decide because, yeah. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for listening and joining us on this wild adventure of our redacted reads. Please feel free to do this with your friends. And if you do, tag us and show us how it turned out. What did you read? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let us know. You can follow us and keep up to date on all of our bookish adventures at our Instagram page at BYOB Book Podcast, or at our TikTok at Bring Your Own Book Podcast. Stay tuned next time while we endeavor to enjoy / experience E.L. James' modern classic, 50 Shades of Grey, which I have never read. And so I'm excited, terrified, but excited. See you next time. Until then, keep on drinking in great stories. Cheers!
Next time on the Bring Your Own Book Podcast. I scowl with frustration at myself in the mirror.